Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. You're here with me, Basil, today to react to Everton's dismal performance and loss at Spurs. I'm not sure if we'll be joined by any other hosts today. Unfortunately, everyone's sort of wrapped up with things, but we'll have a bit of a quick match reaction to the game. I did see the game, or the best part of it. I did miss a little bit after half time, but I have seen the majority of the game, and I will give my observations. But it's not as if it wasn't something we weren't expecting, as in the result and the performance. Really, I mean, we've seen it from the last year. We know what we're getting, and with the squad depleted, we know it's not going to be good. We don't have the best record away to Spurs in recent years. I think we've beaten them once in like 20 goes. Just in general, we often scrape a draw against them at home, but away we very rarely get anything there. And I think going there with a makeshift back line and just the usual lack of creativity is very difficult. And we've been hit there 4-0. And it just leaves you thinking, what the hell are we going to do now? What the hell is going to happen here? Everton sit rock bottom of the table currently, -7 goal difference after 2 games. It's never good when you lose 2 games on the run, but if you don't score in either game and you concede 7 goals, it's worrying. And I think this will be a lot of people will turn and say, let's get him out, as we can see in the comments. Flash Original dash out, Peter Duggan dash out. People are, I don't know, people are feeling a bit sick of Daisha, I would say. John's saying he would bring Moyes back. Yeah, I mean, we're going to go through the game and we'll sort of break down how much of that was Dyche's fault. But the buck stops at the manager, doesn't it? Gary Coffee Bum, Dyche out, total crap. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let's go through the game. Let's look at positives, negatives. Keep the comments flooding in. Keep the comments flooding in. It's just me, so give me something to talk about after all that performance. Obviously, can talk about the 4 goals. There wasn't a lot to talk about Everton's performance, though, and it's very hard to judge when you're not playing with what is your strongest team. It's really concerning that we have so many injuries within 2 games of the season. And my biggest thing right now is we don't look any fitter than any other team we've played. And the whole thing about fitness and building up over pre-season and not working as much with the ball and Gaffer's day, and we don't look any fitter than any other side. In fact, we look like we're flagging after 80 minutes because we're chasing shadows most of the game. But where is the ball work? Where is the tactics? Where is the progression? Where is anything new from last season? Nothing has changed. It's the same team that started the game effectively. You've got a youngster at right back due to circumstances. You've got Michael Keane's come back in. I mean, it's actually worse than last season's team, but I know we've got injuries. We've lost Onana. Decore looks like his legs are like, I don't know, just can't pass a ball sometimes. It's really worrying. It's really worrying. So, the lineups. Let's have a look at the lineups. Everton, Pickford in goal. Michaelenko, Keane, Tarkowski, and Dixon. So Tarkowski didn't make it, even though there was a lot of talk about him missing out due to hamstring problems. He's not one to miss any games, and he played, which I think is a big difference. If you had put Holgate in there, or if you put the new signing O'Brien in, you'd be slightly worried about that. But, well, you'd be a lot more worried than with Tarkowski in there. Dixon, we got the chance to see at right back. He's actually played the youngster, and I think a lot of us were calling for him to play, and he hasn't just defaulted to putting a centre back at right back in Holgate. He's probably seen how bad Holgate's been recently. In fact, Holgate, I don't know. You think he can't recover his career at Everton. It seems beyond him, but he didn't seem to be able to recover it on loan last season at either of the two teams he played for. So I don't know what the hell he's going to do, but he's just not capable at this moment. So why not start the kid there? And then the midfield, you got Idrissa Gueye, Tim in there. You've got McNeil, Doucouré, Harrison. So it's the usual suspects, and Calvert-Lewin. So it's pretty much the usual suspects on that side. You can't really argue with the team that he selected. It was what we had. You could maybe say that Undai was ready to play, or Jasper Lindstrom. But yeah, I don't think you can argue too much with that. And then when you go into the actual game, obviously Spurs, looking at their team now, it's strong all over. They've got pace at the back, which is very hard to get past. Mickey van der Ven is so quick and strong. Romero can be an excellent centre back when his head's in it. Pedro Porro's got creativity. Maddison's creativity in the middle. Basuma's an engine. They've got all round, and then up front you've got Son and Johnson and the new signing Odegaard. So they are a real side and a real threat, and it's important not to forget how good a team they actually are. And I think that Everton side, the concerning thing is I don't think that Everton side would have done that great against. I'm just blocking out somebody who's copying our stream, because he's clocking up the comments. I don't think we would have done much better against a so-called lesser side today. Might not have been 4-0, but we lost 3-0 last week, and that was at home with a right back. I at the moment it just looks like we're losing and leaking goals and making mistakes. So, but I know it's not unusual that we would go to Spurs and lose 4-0 anyway, even with a decent side. So it's not one in the fixture calendar you look at and think we're going to get a win there. If you're lucky, you're going to get a draw. So let's go through the game then. Everton 10 minutes. So 10 minutes. The first goal was 20 minutes in, 15 minutes in. Basuma, well, Everton looked okay. When I say Everton looked okay, I mean Everton going through the motions, not really doing much, and not really creating much, keeping the ball okay, doing their usual long balls. It was Everton for 15 minutes of okay, mediocre. Spurs, we generally had possession of the ball and started to sort of take a bit of control of the ball. And by 10 minutes in, they're passing it round us, and this is what leads to the goal. We don't get near them. We are like chasing shadows, always a meter away from where the ball is. So making these, it looks like we're making last-ditch blocks, but we're making them because we're nowhere near the ball, and the ball comes out to Basuma, and you can't really legislate for that finish. It can't be stopped. Pickford can't stop it. It's difficult to block it. It's just an excellent finish, and I'm thinking, how's he done that? His first goal for Spurs, I can't believe he hasn't scored before for Spurs. You wouldn't have thought it from that strike, but Everton had to stop that ball from getting to Basuma and giving him a chance, which is to place that ball with power from the edge of the box. He can't be getting that sort of space to pick that strike out. So I don't know what's going on there. I guess that's a collective issue from. Yeah, I guess that's just a collective issue from the team not getting close enough. But if you allow a team to just play and play and play, and don't break it up, eventually they will get a chance and they will score, and that's what happened. And then it's 1-0, and you're thinking 1-0, God, okay, 1-0. Everton will not get back into this probably. I may as well turn it off now. 15 minutes in, she's depressing, but it's just the way it is at the moment with a real lack of creativity and chances. So after that, Everton, they Spurs basically dropped off a little bit, and there was a period of about 10 minutes where they allowed us to have a bit more of the ball. We didn't really create a great deal with it, but we looked comfortable with the ball because they weren't really pressing us too much. They were just saying, "Oh, well, we're winning now. You're incapable of scoring. You have the ball for a bit." So we had it, and we did make a couple of chances. I think there was one. Forgive me if it was before the goal or after the goal. I feel like it was before the goal. It was a cross to the back post, which Harrison should have done better with. He completely miscued it, and I think that was probably our best chance of the game. If he connects with that on his left foot and gets it on target, the chances are he scores. But obviously he didn't. I think there's one with Decore where he shifts the ball to the side, but he ran the ball out into the keeper's arms before he got the strike off. There was a header from Calvert-Lewin. But this is all I can think of, actually, those three things, the entire game. I can't think of another chance apart from that. I'd be interested to know how many shots on target we had, if any. We had one shot on target and 3 off target. I mean, that's just not good enough. That's 4 shots in the entire game. So every 25 minutes, you've had a shot. How do you expect to score? I'd say you need 4 or 5 shots on target for Everton to get a goal. Spurs had 7 shots on target and they got 4 goals. But I'm sure our XG was low today. But that Harrison chance was the best chance we had, and we didn't use it. And apart from that, I can't do it. Peter, I've just seen your thing. You're welcome to come on if you want to. And whoever else wants to come on as a bit of a phone-in style. As I said before, we are short on numbers today, so we're welcome to have guests. I'm not sure how I did last time. Did I just put the link in the comments? Let me know if that's how you usually get on. So yeah, second goal is just so this is a turning, because Everton, as I said, we're okay at that point. They're still in the game. You're thinking maybe they'll get a goal, maybe. I mean, it's the hope that kills you. And it's Pickford. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's thinking, but his touch is so poor. And before he knows it, Son's in front of him. He's nicked the ball, and you just see the empty net, and that's it. You've it's in, and that's it. And that's just individual errors. That's you can't put that legislate that for Dyche or anything else. It's just really poor. And at 2-0, well, that's it. You may as well turn it off at that point. I don't know how many people turned it off, if any, but I kept watching it, and nothing was really changing between then and half time. I think it just dried off. I can't even think what happened between then and half time. But I put the link into the chat now for anyone who wants to come on, but you'll have to bear with me if there's a queue. So and then after half time, I'm just going to rattle through the game, and then hopefully someone will come on. We'll have a bit more of a deeper dive into certain aspects. After half time, I have to admit I missed 10 minutes of it because I had to pick my car up for MOT. So when I got back, it was about 55, 58 minutes in. I saw Everton made 2 changes. Dyche actually decided to make changes early. I suppose he had nothing to lose at that point because it's already 2-0. the game's done. He may as well sort of start to bed in players like Undai and Lindstrom, and at least prove that Everton are that they're not ready. I suppose prove to the fans if they're not ready. Let's see what they do. But it's tough for them to play in that situation. And then after that, it's just didn't really improve. McNeil was put into the middle. Everton struggled to create very much more. It's very tough up against the centre backs of Spurs with these balls in the channels and behind. They're strong, they're fast. And then it's there's goal from a corner, I believe. Romero's goal, that was unnecessary. Pickford should save it, in my opinion. I don't know what's going on there. We can't be conceding from set pieces. And the fourth goal is on the counter attack. McNeil playing centrally, plays his ball through. You can see what he's thinking. But Everton have no midfield cover behind. There's always this thing about balance of having 2 or 3 players behind the ball as well as players in front. Everton had about 7 players in front of the ball and only the centre backs and like 1 defender as well, 3 of them. And I don't know, it was just like rampaging through. We just can't live with the pace. And it's Son obviously on the overlap. Dixon's nowhere near him. He's meant to be the right, but he's chasing around the middle, and suddenly it's a goal. And I don't know. Let's then there was 10 minutes of nonsense. So I'll bring in Peter, and let's see what he thought about the game. Hey Peter, how are you doing?
All right, mate. How do you think I'm doing after watching that?
Not great, is
it? Just to clarify something, mate, I don't know if anyone's noticed this. This is the second time in under Dyche's management we have lost our second game of the season 4-0. That says a lot about how far we've come, hasn't it? No improvement whatsoever. I mean, mate.
Was that Villa last year?
Yeah, that was Villa last year, and there's no improvement. I mean, Ashley Young played against Villa, but do you know what, mate? Dixon looked like a good player. In a game where we lose 4-0, it says something when one of the youngest players on the pitch actually looks like the standout player. You know what I mean? The standout performer is a young kid from the academy we were all screaming for to come on. I bet you Dyche was watching that performance from Dixon thinking, oh, Jesus, why didn't I start him against Brighton instead of Young? I mean, honestly, he wouldn't have got sent off. See some of the challenges he put in on Heung-min Son. He'd have been catching Matoma every single time he got in behind him. Performing the way he performed there.
Got some real pace about him, which really aids him in terms of, and he can tackle. So if he gets close, he can tackle it.
Oh, sorry, hang on.
It's all right.
My screen. What then? No, yeah, he's got a bit of pace. Like I say, if you're gonna be if you're gonna be digging out players there today, I mean, look, the second goal, Pickford made a mistake. To tell you the truth, I'm not going to dig Pickford out for it too much. The only thing I'll call him up on is I don't know why he's taking a touch with the outside of his foot when that ball comes to him. I mean, for whatever reason, he chose to touch it with the outside of his foot. Just open your body up and take it with the inside of your foot rather than the outside. That way you've got the ball under control. But he lost control, and Son just swoops in and snatches it off him. And it's like, mate, you should know better than that. But I'm not going to dig him out too much because that is Dyche tactics. That's Dyche ball. Go back to Pickford and basically let's just see if he can twat it 70 yards up the pitch to Calvert-Lewin, Harrison or McNeil. And it doesn't work. Do you know why? Because every time the ball goes up to Calvert-Lewin, he's ahead of everybody else or he's offside. Or if he's ahead of everybody else, the worst case scenario is he gets dragged out wide where he doesn't belong. He should be in and around the box. Or if it goes to Harrison, who can't use his right foot, a left-footed right winger. I mean, come on, mate. Everyone knows what he's going to do. He's going to try and cut inside, so everyone can snuff that out with ease. And then comes Dwight McNeil. I mean, everyone knows what to do against him. Just show him onto his right foot. He can't bloody use it. You know what I mean? He can't use it to control the ball. He can't use it to manipulate the ball. He can't use it to pass a ball. He can't use it to roll a ball. It's almost like he's you might as well just chop his right leg off because he can't fucking use it. He's useless with it.
It is true.
Honestly, mate, it's a joke.
one-dimensional.
Yeah, it's a joke. I don't get what he's trying to do. If you want to dig out players, right, instead of Dyche today, there are two players you can dig out, in my opinion, specifically for that performance today. Forget Keane in the back line. Forget Mikalenko and all that. I know Ryan and we're all looking at Keane and whatever, and thinking what's going on. Why is he playing there? Forget him today, mate. The two worst performers on that pitch today were Decore and McNeil. I mean, every time the ball went to McNeil, his only decision was backwards. Never once did he go forward. And any time he did go forward, he cocked it up. And as for Decore, I mean, he looks like he's playing stuck in the mud. He's not even like he looks so static with the ball at his feet and out of his feet. Honestly, that his performance at Brighton was pathetic. Honestly, like his performance against Brighton. How many midfielders can you say you've seen in history of football be caught offside 5 times in one half? I mean, that's got to be a record. That I don't think I've ever seen a midfielder get caught offside 5 times in one half. That's unreal. I mean, it's unbelievable. And to get on to Dyche, mate, I mean, how much money have we paid for some of these players? Majority of them are on the bench. What does Jake O'Brien have to do to start a game? I mean, he proved himself in pre-season, played against teams like Preston, kept a clean sheet and scored a goal, played against teams like Motherwell, scored a goal, kept a clean sheet. And, Ryan says, like, oh, well, it's Motherwell, oh, it's Sligo, it's Preston, whatever. This is one of the things I dug the club out for, playing against teams like that in pre-season. Why? Play teams on your level. I don't care where they are in Europe. Play the top division team of any league in Europe. I don't really care, or in the world, because we need a challenge, someone who's going to test us. Don't care about results, care about tests and getting the team under the cosh, getting the team moving, getting the team physically ready for what they're coming up against. And they don't look like they're even ready one bit. I mean, all these injuries are probably proof of that. I mean, the Calvert-Lewin situation is another thing I think we should dig Dyche up for, because, I mean, what the friggin' hell? The kid has made it clear he doesn't want to be at the club. So why is he playing him then? Why did he give him all the minutes in pre-season and not give Beto a single look in when Schmidt got injured? I don't get it.
Yeah, there's so much to unpick, isn't there? There's so much going wrong at the moment. But I think Everton just fundamentally, when you play away at Spurs or a team like that, you're on the away. You want pace on the counter-attack. You're under the cosh. You need to keep it tight. Are we playing McNeil and Harrison are just really slow? But at least you with the other wingers that we've so-called wingers we've signed, which is a cat's tail. The wingers we've signed, they're the ones with pace. They're the ones who can do something on the counter-attack. Why don't we give them the confidence to say, this is your game today. You're going to go and run at them. And actually, they'll up their game for that. You can't wait for them to get ready to Premier League standard because they've never played Premier League.
2 words. When you're asked the question of why we're not giving the new lads an opportunity to go out and prove themselves, 2 words, mate. Dyche, favouritism. That's what it is. He wants to play Decore. He wants to play Michael Keane. He wants to play Dwight McNeil and Jack Harrison. He doesn't want to play the new lads. He wants to play his favourites. I said that in pre-season. I left a comment on with Aussie Chris when he was doing a video with his mate from Australia. And Chad, I think it was. I don't quite remember. I think he was doing a video with them. And I said, all these new signings won't get an opportunity under Dyche because he's going to play his favourites. That's all he ever does. He wants to play his favourites. And that's exactly what we're seeing. I mean, I wasn't surprised to see Jake O'Brien getting picked in these 2 games. Not in the least, because I knew that was what Dyche was going to do. It's the same principle with Ashley Young. It's the same principle with, Calvert-Lewin. The way I see it, he just wants to play his favourites. I mean, the thing is, I'm hearing people like trying to weigh up positives for these 2 games we played. The Brighton game. Now, we had, 15 minutes according to people. Mate, I'll be straight up. I think the plan was absolutely flawed from the get-go, because it's one thing we want to see Everton play a high press at Goodison Park. The only issue with that is Michael Keane and James Tarkowski playing as a centre-back partnership. Because when you play a high press with two centre-halves who have the pace of a snail, you are absolutely destined to get beat, because if you haven't got a midfielder to offer some security in front of that back four to stop them from coming out their slots and leaving spaces in behind for attackers to run into, you are going to get exposed time and time again. And I knew the minute I saw us playing a high press against Brighton, I said, we're going to get beat because we'll leave them spaces in behind, because Tarkowski and Keane are too slow. Whenever they get caught on the halfway line, it's game over, because someone's going to get through. The only thing that saves us is Pickford in those situations. And that's why I don't want to dig him out, because I tell you something, mate, first 15 minutes, people, I don't know if people are saying we had a good start. First 15 minutes, mate, I thought it was shocking. I thought the chances that Spurs had, the one that Romero had, the one that Son had, I think it was Son or Adogi or whatever, just chance after chance. If it wasn't for Pickford, we'd have been 2-3-0 down in the first 15 minutes, mate. Some of the saves he made.
I mean, Pickford, you can't really complain at Pickford. Everyone can say it was his fault for the second goal, because there's just no denying it was. But overall, you can't say anything bad about it.
Well, he made the second to last mistake, but here's what I can't wrap my head around with that second goal, mate. It's our throw-in on the halfway line.
It goes back.
Why are we going backwards? I don't get it. Don't go backwards on the halfway line from a throw-in. What the fuck?
Goes back to tactics, doesn't it? That's
Dyche tactics. That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Or
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dyche tactics, you know what I mean? Because he wants to go back to Pickford so he can just route one it up to Harrison or Calvert-Lewin or McNeil, and it doesn't work, mate. Like, I don't watch Toffee TV much, but I heard what Ped said the other week about it. He said every team in the Premier League will have clocked onto that game plan by now. No one is going to fall for that. They're all going to be defending it because they know what Dyche wants to do.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. There was a comment question from Aussie Chris for you before. He said, we have been bossed in the middle for 2 matches in a row, even with the industrious Irabugum. How do you propose we fix the middle, and how would you outdo Dyche?
Drop Decore and Idrissa Gueye and play a 4-1-4-1 shape with Ndiaye and Jesper Lindstrom. Simple. And just, if you want to play a high press, you can do it with that shape, mate. Moyes did it for years with a very limited team, and it worked because he had like a defensive midfielder to add security to the slow centre halves. But I wouldn't play Keane in that back four, mate. No chance. I would put Jake O'Brien in there before I put Keane in that back four, or Holgate for that matter. At least he didn't pick Holgate today. Fair play to him for that. But that's about as much credit as I can give Dyche. He didn't pick Holgate and he didn't bring him on from the bench.
Didn't pick Holgate, but we still lost 4-0.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I mean, it still lose 4-0 against with that team, because Michael Keane in any backline, you're going to lose 4-0 to a top side, mate. It's pretty much a guarantee.
You think Michael Keane was at fault for the goals today? I personally didn't see
not all of them. No
mistakes, and he plays some good ball. Sometimes the ball he kind of reads it, and then he'll play a ball forward or something. He played a really good one out onto the left, which created a good chance in the first half. He played one in the second half straight forward into feet. Like he is capable. He just does make mistakes.
Hang on a minute, mate. I've lost me.
I've lost
me hearing. Hang on.
He's unreliable.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. You all right?
Yeah. So you were saying about Lindstrom and Ndiaye. You play them as 2 number 10s in front of Tim?
Yeah, 2 number 10s in front of Eric Boonham, because the thing about the thing about Idrissa Gueye, mate, and I think you could see it blatantly there today, from the perspective of
his connection.
I think it might be my headphones. Hang on a sec.
They've defaulted you out.
Hang on a minute, yeah.
Well, hopefully when Peter is ready, we can get him back in. I'm just looking through your comments to see what people are saying. Well, in this moment of pause, I'll just remind you that we are Follow Everton. Ryan will kill me if I don't say that we Follow Everton, and it would be great if you can like and subscribe. I know there's over 300 currently watching, and I'm sure Benny will watch back. As Eugene said, please smash the like button, and thanks for watching. Right, I'm catching up with some of these comments which I missed out from phoning. That's all about. So yeah, so this is a running problem, isn't it? That teams are scoring far too easily. They're getting one chance and they're putting it away. And how do Everton win any games or even draw a game if they're constantly losing, constantly conceding goals? I mean, Ryan is at a gig or in the car.
Stepped outside for 5 minutes on my break, but so I've got 5 minutes.
Did you see that?
The match or your stream? I haven't watched any of your stream.
The match.
I watched the whole thing, and I wish I hadn't watched it. I feel like history is repeating itself.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have blamed anyone for turning it off after the 2-0.
David Moore by his phone, waiting for the crisis call. He's always in contact with Farhad Moshiri. Nearly had the job twice before. It almost seems like too obvious. Managers go stale. They don't stay in a job for that long. They kind of go a bit stale. The players stop becoming receptive to their ideas. I mean, thing is, I don't know what the ideas were today.
No.
I mean, I'm sure you summarized it, but to me, it was. I can summarize it in about 60 seconds. We've got one player who can come out with any credit, and that's Roman Dixon. He's our new right back. Don't be taking him out the team now for Ashley Young, or even Shaman. Let this boy develop. Play him at right back. He's tenacious. He can tackle. He's got pace. He wasn't able to show that forward threat, Basil, but he's the right back that Everton needs to develop and utilize now. In terms of the actual match, none of the others can come out with any credit. They were awful. That central midfield pairing, Timur Abugan and Gay, were abysmal. The fullback Mikolenko turns like a Thomas the Tank Engine. The two centre halves all over the place. The goalkeeper, oh my God, is he still on holiday in Tenerife? Because he was all over the place. The forwards offered nothing. Decore offered nothing. Couldn't trap a bag of cement. And Calvert-Lewin, I've seen more threat from a 6-year-old in kindergarten playing football with his mates. But the reality was that the four goals, the first one you can't account for because he's just pinged it top corner, world class. The second one, what is he doing? What are you doing, Jordan? You absolute gobshite. Get rid of it. Stupid. Cost us the game. This is elite football. This isn't a kickabout in the park. He makes a stupid error, costs us the game. Third goal. Fucking hell. Come and catch it. It's in your 6-yard box. Just catch it. Stop taking the piss. The fourth goal. You caught up the pitch because we're trying to pass it through about 16 people when the pass isn't on. And then he just runs up the other end and scores, and Dixon doesn't know whether to go to Son or go with the other guy. It's pitiful, Basil. Pitiful.
Yeah, I need to watch back that last goal because I need to think whether Dixon should have been at right back or whether it looked like he'd gone forward. So can't really legislate for him not being in position. But I do think he should bring Son down and take the yellow card, or not Son, whoever it was running. I think he should have just pushed him and just taken the yellow card. But maybe that's something Dyche can speak to him about. Generally, his performance was very promising for his age. And I think, as you said, we've got no choice now. He has to stay in. He has to develop in that way. Peter is coming back in.
Wait until I've gone.
Yeah, that's fine.
If it's a phone in, why aren't you putting the link out?
I did put the link out before.
No, you do it like this.
I put it in the comments.
People who want to rant, you can come on audio only if you want.
Unless I can put it in the actual description of the.
That they can just type it in. There's nearly 400 people watching. all the optimism I had for this season has been sapped out of me in the space of about. And I'll be all honest with you, I didn't actually have any optimism because we got battered by Sligo Rovers, battered by Coventry. We were crap against Roma. We were crap. We were just crap. We're just crap.
Yeah.
Can't even be asked.
No, I can't. I'm not gonna lie. You know, if there's something better on, I'd rather watch them in my own leisure when there's less stress. They're just too stressful watching them. You get your hopes raised, and it's actually shite. And I've seen it 100 times now over 3 seasons. It's not got any better.
Just send the kids out to Doncaster, get knocked out the cup, focus on the league because we've got 54 hours of this turgid football. 54 hours remaining. I worked it out before. Thought, how many more hours have we got to invest in this season?
The league we're already bottom of the league and 7 goal difference clear. We're already in a bit of a pigsty in the league. That's not enjoyable now. So I do think we should stay in the cup and try and make that a side thing that we can sort of enjoy on the side. Can't enjoy anything in the league.
Get knocked out by any team remotely able to pass a football.
Yeah, but after a couple of rounds, when we've built up a bit of confidence, every bit of confidence is gone already after 2 games.
I would like to stay in and chat. I don't know what people thought of the substitutions, Lindstrom and Jai, but he obviously wanted McNeil in the middle because Decore wasn't doing anything, either defensive work or the attacking work. So McNeil brought the work rate in, but I didn't think Njai played well. I thought Lindstrom was the better of the two, but he needs that right back to bomb on. Look, this game we're not going to see this every week, but it's not.
I don't think either of them did anything, but what can you expect them to do? I think generally Undai looks the more threatening player, the more of a dribbler, the one who's going to get a half a yard and get a shot off. I think Lindstrom's not used to this physicality and this pace. I think he has different qualities. He can certainly spot. His vision's good, but I don't think the other players are on the same wavelength when he plays balls around.
So his excuse for not playing Roman Dixon was that he doesn't have experience. Or sorry, O'Brien. And then he goes and plays Roman Dixon. And then he brings Harrison Armstrong on.
O'Brien, he's played the most out of all the signings, just not in the Premier League.
He just contradicts exactly.
I don't understand that one because he's a centre-back. What's the big issue with the centre-back? I can understand it with like a forward or something, but you're playing at centre-back. The game's in front of you. He's a very quick centre-back. He's not going to get caught out for pace. So why doesn't he get a chance for 60 minutes? Or even when it's 3-0 down or 4-0 down, why is Tarkowski still on the pitch? The game's over. He's injured. Get him off.
I can't believe O'Brien
on Tuesday.
Sorry. I've seen Michael Keane before. I've seen him over 200 times. I don't need to see him again.
Well, he's the best centre-back we've got.
All I'll say is I'm not saying sack the manager, but when Sean Dyche's Everton stops being Sean Dyche's Everton, then what's the point? You know, if the things that he's good at, which is the set pieces, we were shit at the set pieces today. We couldn't defend them. We didn't get behind Spurs' high line. We didn't test their goalie, who's a bit of a crab when it comes to the set pieces. He's not good at coming out and claiming them. So we should be testing them on set pieces. We should be punishing them in the high line. Harrison had that chance and skied it.
If Harrison scores that chance, and we also had, I've just remembered, there was a couple of corners right at the end of the first half, which we were very close to scoring, and we were quite a presence in the box there. If we'd scored 2 goals there, we might have got something out of the game, but we're not clinical in any way, shape, or form. The chances of us winning a game is so slim. We're conceding 3 or 4 a game, and we're not getting close to scoring.
That's not like Premier League football, though, is it? We're so outdated, that who fit in the box nonsense. It's like watching Sunday League. You know, the central midfield today is a disgrace. Gay and Irabun, and we need to do something. We've got to get someone in there. And if Harrison Armstrong isn't ready, then You've got to get someone in there. There's got to be some.
Spurs are just, they move the ball so quickly. They've got pace. All their players, the touch, the pass, the move, pass it back in. Maddison, creativity, playing round the midfielders. Gay and Rabugam had no chance of getting near them, and Decore, he's not helping them. He's just an extra man doing nothing.
It looked like a men versus boys, a bunch of yard dogs versus elite footballers. But you know, when you give the second and third goals away, then you deserve nothing. And you know, we did have a shot. See, this is what I said. We went there and we didn't press, we didn't attack, and we didn't cause problems, and we still got battered 4-0. So we've played conservatively and still lost.
That's frustrating, isn't it?
Oh, I've got to go. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
If anyone wants to join, you type that link in and David will bring you in. You should do it. Come on, have your say. Help him out. He doesn't want to sit on his own for much longer, and there's nearly 400 of you watching. So get on that stream and talk about the Blues.
Right. Let's bring back in Peter. Hopefully he's got things sorted. Peter?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. Oh, mate, don't know what's going on. I think I'll have to do this without a camera for now. Yeah, yeah. What were you asking me there about my?
We were talking about your team, and I was going to ask you about your thoughts about Lindstrom and Dine and those number 10, because from what I've seen of them before they joined the club, they are more number 10s than wingers. And all Dyche has done so far in pre-season and in these two games, it's just stuck them on the wing and put players who are not number 10s like Harrison and McNeil, who are one-dimensional, and he's just pushed them inside. And I just don't know if that's the right way to go about it.
That's a Dyche thing, to be honest with you. That's what Dyche does. Do you notice how last season he was doing that with James Garner, putting him out wide on the right? I mean, I know what people are making a case for him to come play at right back. I'll tell you something, mate, he's not a right back either. He hasn't got the pace to get up and down the channel. He's a number 10. Yeah. And ironically, the only time he's ever played in the number 10 role for Everton was when we beat Brentford 3-1 away. And he came on and made a big difference in that number 10 role. In fact, I think he got an assist.
He is a creator, isn't he? He can cross a ball. I mean, he's inconsistent, but he can create. And we do miss that at the moment. There's a real lack of that in that midfield.
Well, to answer your question about Ndiaye and Lindstrom playing as number 10s, yeah, you see, the thing is, when I look at Ndiaye and Lindstrom, they look like two different types of number 10s. And I really like to see that being implemented into the team because, for example, Lindstrom to me looks like a creative passer, like one of those creative midfield players with a pass on him to find the perfect pass through the lines. Whereas Ndiaye, on the other hand, looks more like a penetrating runner of a number 10, a little bit like what Barkley was. The only difference between him and Barkley is I think Ndiaye has the brain to know when to release the ball when he's in the final third.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're spot on with that from what I've seen. I totally agree. But how do you think you'd use them together? Is that what you're saying? We need the creativity alongside the runner.
Yeah, we need the creativity alongside the runner, and I would use them together, and I would play like a high line with that. If you like a high press, if you want to play a high press, play a high press with a 4-1-4-1 formation and play Eric Boonham in that number 6 role. Because the reason why I would pick Eric Boonham over Idrissa Gueye is because, and I think you saw it there today against Tottenham, Idrissa Gueye, from a technical perspective, mate, he is no good at helping the back line get the ball out from the back. I mean, if we can play out from the back, I hate hearing that nonsense that we can't play out from the back. I'm not going to say that we're brilliant at it, but what we need is the midfield to commit to it. Now, if you have someone like Ndiaye who's willing to make those penetrating runs, and you've got someone like Eric Boonham who's very calm and composed on the ball, I can see us being able to play out from the back, but the midfield have to help the back four out. You can't just rely on the back four to get the ball out from the back. You've got to have the midfield contribute. And I think that Eric Boonham would offer more than Idrissa Gueye, because Idrissa Gueye, from a technical perspective, mate, he's just not a good footballer. He can't control the ball properly. And there were some passes that he played there today. There was one where he got into the final third on the counter-attack. And instead of playing the ball like forward for Dwight McNeil, he put it behind him. And it was like we were on the counter-attack as well. And he's putting the ball behind him. And it's like, God, he just can't find the pass. He's just not got that ability to pick out the pass properly. Whereas Eric Boonham, on the other hand, I think has the ability to do that. And he's also defensively quite solid, and he's got the speed to be able to keep up with attackers. But obviously, you're going to need Lindstrom and Dye to drop off and make recovery runs as well. Have they got the energy and the stamina to do that in the Premier League? I suppose if you played this system, you'd find out. But one thing that is for certain, mate, is we're worried about injuries. The two players we can't afford to have injured at this point, I'd say, are Ndai and Lindstrom, because without the two of them, I don't see us creating much going forward. And another thing I want to touch on, sorry, before we move on to something else here. I know that there was talk of loaning Chimiti out before his injury. Now, I have to be honest, that worries me, because I said this in the comments the other week, and Ryan wasn't particularly pleased with me saying it, but I think Chimiti looks like the best striker we've got. And the reason why I say that is because nothing to do with his physique. It's his composure in and around the box. When we played against Sligo, I saw those goals he scored. The one where Ronaldo chopped it into the net from the 6-yard area, and the one where he got it under control in and around the box, cut it back onto his strong foot, and then side-footed it into the bottom corner. Now, Ryan's counter argument to that is, but it's against Sligo. Now, I understand that point of view, but my counter argument to that point of view is, when has Calvert-Lewin, Beto, or Mope ever scored a goal like that against a team of any caliber, let alone a team the caliber of Sligo or Preston or whatever? You know, because Chimiti shows that he's got. If Chimiti's got the composure in and around the box, mate, you can't argue with that. That's what you should be looking for first and foremost in a striker. Not work rate, not physique, not, pace. You should be looking for someone who's got that composure in and around the box to get the ball under control and get a shot away and aim for the four corners of the net.
Yeah, I mean, the other two, Calvert-Lewin, the balls, he seems to just slip over every time the ball comes near. Better, I don't know what he's doing. He's just shoving players around, and anything he can do to get near it, but it usually bounces off him as well. I have seen some promising signs from Chimiti, but I mean, he is injured at the moment. I think he won't go on loan. I think that the loan thing is because we're stuck with Mopai, and we don't want to have 4 strikers, and we can't afford to have 4 strikers paying all those wages when we only play one up front.
My response to that would be, well, then sell Mopai or loan him out. I don't really care what happens with him. I'd get him off the books.
He'll end up going on deadline day for we'll be paying 70% of his wages.
Good. I'd be happy to see the back of him, whether it's loan or sell. I don't really care. As long as Chimiti stays with the club, I'm happy, because if Chimiti can recapture something of himself, what he was showing in pre-season, I would feel more comfortable with him getting into that starting lineup than Beto or Calvert-Lewin or even Mope for that matter, because at least he showed composure in and around the box. And I think if you put him on the pitch with Ndai, you put him on the pitch with Lindstrom, I think you're bound to get chances. And I think we might actually score some goals for a change, because right now we don't look like hitting the net at all with any of the players that Dyche is picking. And on another note, I can see a lot of sack Dyche. I mean, I was the first one to comment Dyche out. I just want it. John texted, if you're listening, please, for the love of God, get rid of your Palace shares and buy into Everton and get rid of this useless bastard, because he's just not getting us anywhere. I mean, you can see, mate, from some of the players' body language, not all of the players, but just look at some of the players on that pitch and on the bench and look at their body language. You can see, mate, they don't want to play for Dyche. They don't like Dyche. You can tell by their body language. There was a point where you could see Mope with clutching his nose with his fingers and his eyes closed, and he's like, what is Dyche doing? You could see that that's probably what was going through his head. I mean, and that says a lot when you've got Mope saying that about you as a manager. I mean, if that's Mope's attitude towards our manager, that says a lot, because he's not one of the most liked players.
Yeah, but he's not really at the focal point of Everton, is he? He's on the periphery. Think of someone who plays week in, week out. Does the likes of McNeil, does he want to play for Dyche? I mean, he looked absolutely shattered at the end and frustrated. He looked like he didn't know what we were doing.
I don't know if it was him the other week, but there was one or two of the players last week against Brighton, when he started to change up the system after the red card or whatever. I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was Ndai or if it was McNeil or if it was somebody. But one of the players literally looked towards the dugout with their arms outstretched and looked as though they were kind of saying, where the FNL am I supposed to be playing here? You know what I mean? Because I don't understand what you're doing. because clearly he lost control of the game once that red card happened. And the red card wasn't a surprise. I think Ashley Young's going to get sent off here because if he's up against Matoma, he's going to lose him and he's going to pull him back or whatever, because that's something that Ashley Young would do. I mean, it's sloppy, it's clumsy, it's everything you think of, you'd expect when you think of Ashley Young, really, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It is. He cost us last season against Brighton as well, I think, for a win. Yeah, that was a recipe for disaster. But do you think when Lundstrom so let's say we get Garner, Irabugam, Lundstrom, Undai, McNeil, and whoever you want up front, let's say DCL for now, unless you want Beto, because they're the ones available. Do you think they will be more dynamic and there will be a threat?
With Beto, you could be more dynamic, yeah, because I think with Beto, you can go route one and stand more chance of winning a ball in the air with Beto, because Calvert-Lewin doesn't win anything in the air these days. He looks like an absolute bottle merchant when it comes to competing in the air, whereas Beto actually looks like he's got a bit of, aggression in him when he's competing in the air. So if you want to go route one at any time or mix it up and play out from the back, you can do it with Ndai, Lindstrom and Eric Boonham in that midfield, because I think they'll contribute to getting the ball out from the back a lot more than anyone who's played in that midfield as of these last two games. But the long ball would be better as well with Beto on the pitch, because at least he's got a bit of aggression to stick it to someone of the centre halves. I mean, put it this way, I think if you play route one against Tottenham there today, against walking on crutches Van de Ven and a tiny Christian Romero, chances are Beto would probably get the better of both of them in the air, I think, whereas Calvert-Lewin didn't look like he had a chance. Don't get me wrong, Van de Ven's a fantastic defender and very good at making recovery runs, but when he's got that, he looked like he had that knock, and I think competing in the air would have been difficult for him if he was up against Beto instead of Calvert-Lewin. And I also think it would have been the exact same had it with Romero, because Romero's not the biggest fella, and also he's very rash when he goes into challenges. You wind him up, he would have got sent off, mate, if someone had niggled him a little bit, you know what I mean?
Well, you could have put Neil Maupay on for that. He would have niggled him.
Yeah, well, the one thing about Beto, mate, is he's no different than Calvert-Lewin in front of the net. I mean, he's more inclined to blast it over or put it wide than he is to hit it straight at the keeper like Calvert-Lewin does. Like, none of them have got any composure or any accuracy in front of goal to aim for the four corners of the net. Instead, you'd want Schmidt in there, because at least he has that composure. He showed it in pre-season. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going anywhere, and I have to be straight up, mate. This season, I very much do fear relegation, because I think at least one team is going to be better than us this time if Dyche is here as manager any longer, because I don't think he's got the bottle to play any of the new players, and I don't think he's got the mindset to put them in the right positions or the tactical. I think he's just too tactically inept. I mean, if he couldn't turn Burnley into a solid Premier League team with £195.5 million over the course of 9.5 years, do you really think he's going to spend money with us and turn us into a Premier League side? Because to be fair to him, mate, he's got some decent players there that we've brought in for some good sum of money, and he's not giving them a chance. So if he's the manager to take us forward, he needs to show something or he needs to go. And I know that people are saying we can't sack him at the minute because of our board situation. As soon as John Textor's in, mate, as soon as John Textor buys the club, mate, I would see the back of Dyche, and I would bring Moyes in, because if we don't, I really do fear that we're going to be going down. I mean, to sum up Dyche as a manager at Everton so far, he's still got more losses than wins on his record, and he's got a better team than Allardyce ever had, and Allardyce has more wins than losses on his record. Excuse me. Yeah. But Allardyce has more wins than losses, and Dyche has more losses than wins. And Allardyce had a far worse team. He had Schneiderlin and Davis in midfield. He had Michael Keane and Ashley Williams at the back. He had no fullbacks. He was playing Cuco Martina at left back. He was playing John Joe Kenny at right back. At least Roman Dixon looks better than John Joe Kenny ever did.
Yeah. Okay, Peter. We've got Matt waiting in the lobby to come on as another guest. So thanks, Peter, for coming in, and obviously you're welcome to stay on, and we might come back to you. Matt, let's bring you in. How are you doing?
Hi, Basil. I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. As good as you can be after what we just witnessed. Is there anything you particularly wanted to touch on firstly, or?
I'm just more of a. I hate the knee jerk. I think I mentioned it when I was last on, but that was particularly bad. I can't really defend anything there. Sort of like Peter said, Dixon plays well, and I really didn't think he'd play. I watched the under-21s game the other day, and like he was great going forward, but he was just getting rinsed every time. I think it was Sol Solomon for Tranmere went forward, but then in that game he played really well. So fair play. That's the only positive. You can't really say anything, but my biggest thing is like the knee jerk that you get online with it. I think as a fan base we're very good at going online and expressing when things aren't going well, but when things are going well, I think we sort of overcompensate for that. We win a couple of games, and all of a sudden we're, back in the 80s. But yeah, it's more the knee jerk side of it. I had a lot of conversations today surrounding Michael Keane. I don't think he's done anything wrong for them 2 games. And again, if Branthwaite wasn't injured, we wouldn't be having the conversation regardless, and we won't be having the conversation in 3 weeks' time when he's back. 3 weeks' time. Yeah, like the Keane slander, I just don't really get it. Like I know he's not your starting centre back. He's not your best centre back. He's not going to be the best centre back. But I was having a conversation with someone before who was kicking off, and I was like, "But what's he done?" And he admitted, "Oh, he's not done anything wrong." I said, "What's the problem then? Well, what's the reaction for it? He's not doing anything wrong. No one's doing anything particularly well. So your reaction should be that the team's not playing well instead of picking individual players." And it's come out in different media outlets that players see this. Some of them have burner accounts. They see stuff like this. So it's not helping. It's not going to help, is it? And again, football's such a psychological game now. There's loads of research going into like mental state in footballers, particularly young footballers like Roman Dixon. He done himself the world of good. He'll probably see the reaction online and feel all the better for it. But players like Keane, Tarkowski, senior players, Garner, Pickford, who all, Holgate, they all use social media and they see that reaction. And if you think your fan base are going to be like that, 99% of them are just there for the money. They've got no loyalty to the club, have they? So my biggest thing is the reaction on social media. I think it needs dialing down by about 6 and just sort of take it as it is. With 2 games in, we didn't win for the first, 5 or 6 last season, and we stayed up comfortably. Some of our better seasons have been when we've not performed well in the opening days of the season. But I will admit that loss there was very reminiscent of the Villa loss last season in the opening games. That was bad. Like that was particularly bad, and some of the goals were just. Yeah, you can't account for it, can you?
Everton notoriously slow starters in recent seasons. Last season's the best example, probably, for it. We did eventually get some form. Everton have a habit of going through periods of a few months of being okay and then being absolutely terrible for 3 months. So I think, and that doesn't help with the fan base, as you say, because we get very worked up if we're winning and very worked down if we're losing. So it's a problem. I mean, today, as you touched on, I didn't think Michael Keane was really at fault for anything particularly, but the goals in generally, they all came down for me to sort of more specific moments and specific mistakes. How much does the pressure that comes into this Spurs game, the players knowing that it's a makeshift team and that the Everton fans are already on their backs after losing 3-0 the week before, do you think that has any impact in the game and instantly you're down to 1-0 after 10 minutes? Does psychologically read into this Spurs game, just in general, you go into it thinking we're not going to win the game because we're playing, all the fans are saying we've got a makeshift 11, let's keep the score down.
It absolutely does. It's sort of like that confirmation bias. You're telling yourself beforehand we're going to get battered. The players are seeing it. They're going to feel it. It's no different to, you're in work and you've got a conference coming up. You don't want to go to it. And everyone there doesn't want to go to it. And it's going to be awful and we don't want to go. And and you sort of drag yourself along. 99% of the time, you're going to have a terrible time because you've told yourself you're going to have a terrible time. I'm not saying that we need to sit there and be like overly positive, because it's a fine balance, isn't it? And you look at like the likes of Ipswich, who would have went to City today. Oh, we're going to give them a real good game. Scored after 7 minutes, and the press are lauding them and how great they are, and then they go and get slapped again. you know, and then they get the little pat on the head from Guardiola, and McKenna will be the best manager in the league, like Rob Edwards was last year. You know, it's fine lines, but it obviously does play a big part in both the fan base and for the team themselves. You know, you see it at Goodison, where there's games where you know it's a must-win game, and the fans are on edge and they're a bit tetchy, and the commentator actually said it about the Spurs fans when I think it was not long after Calvert-Lewin had forced the corner because they had made a mistake at the back, and the commentators, they were 2-0 up at the time, and he was saying, oh, you know, you can feel the Spurs fans are a bit on edge here, and that was our best periods of the game, and that it does have such a massive impact. And we always go on, and you know, there was tweets going around last week about how the fans dragged us over the line, and the fans of this and the fans of that. What Dyche said about the zero to hero mentality, he's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. It's true, because if we won that game today, it'd have all been fine. And you know, whatever. You know, I've got a mate who's a Palace fan, obviously living down here. I've got a few friends who are friends who are fans of teams around the south, and I've got a friend who's a Palace fan, and they're all hating it at the minute. But the back end of last season, Glasner was the best thing they've ever done. All of a sudden, they've lost 2 games and they're not playing very well, and they've sold all their best players, and they're in a position that we're in where you don't really know if you're going to get anybody else to come in, and the players who have come in don't look that good. You know, for example, Kamada, he was getting lauded. Oh, Dyche didn't start Lindstrom. That didn't start and die. Oh, well, Glasner started Kamada. He doesn't have Premier League experience. He didn't play today. He didn't start him because he's not up to speed. Ndiaye and Lindstrom changed that game, but they've had time to get up to speed. They played 15, 20 minutes. Sorry, Lindstrom didn't. Ndiaye played, 15 minutes in a game where he wasn't going to touch the ball. He didn't play midweek, but Lindstrom played midweek. They've got minutes in the legs. They've got a bit of experience behind them. They had a good impact on the game, but you could see them slowly start to come out of the game because that pressure, like you were saying, is getting put back on top of them. It's all psychological, and it's a hard sport, and it's so easy for us as fans to sit there and say, you know, we expect X, Y, and Z, but it's no different to, you know. Sorry, I was just reading that comment from Becky.
Yeah, Becky's asking, how does this impact us? Because the fans' patience is really thin. We've been going through this for years, and that's why it's so tetchy in a way, that we're so high and low, because we're just so fed up of it. I don't know how we move forward from this. I mean, there's no easy way out of here. We have got the new stadium coming, but I think financially this problem is just carrying on, and it's having a huge impact, and there doesn't seem to be a way out till we get a new owner. Do you think that's the only way we can remove ourselves? Or
it's a start. That's the start, isn't it? That's sort of the end goal here. And I think this season isn't about moving forward. I think it is just about consolidating, and you go into next season, and then that's when you can start moving forward. You know, West Ham tried a similar thing. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago in a pre-match. They moved into the London Stadium, and they thought it was all going to be, you know, all going to be rainbows and ponies, and it was all going to be great from there. It's not going to be, because you've got to sort of consolidate and realise where you are and where we are at the minute. We're a lower mid-table relegation threatened club. We have been the past 3-4 years. Not a lot of the players are all that good. That's why our patience is thin. So instead of expecting the world and kicking off when they're not very good, sometimes you do just have to accept your level and go, look, we're playing Tottenham. They're one of the best attacking teams in the league. We weren't very good. You can be angry with that. You can be annoyed at that, because we were not very good at all today. But it's that knife to a gunfight thing, isn't it, that Moyes said years ago? We ain't going to battle in a game like that. And if we'd gone out and tried to battle, i.e. like Ipswich did today, I know that the scoreline was the same, but we'd have got absolutely slapped. We had a couple of spells in that game. We looked like scoring a couple of times. Set pieces in the first half particularly, they were rocky off them. Tarkowski had a couple of decent chances. They scrambled a couple away. On another day, one of them goes over the line. It's 1-1. So, you know, it's one of them, innit? Like, I agree. Patience is thin. It's going to be thin. But 2 games into a season, give it another 4 or 5 before you start sort of going to overboard. That's sort of my view on it.
Yeah, it is too early, really. There's some comments saying that Dyche is he's been sort of having a go at the fans again.
It wouldn't surprise me.
If somebody can confirm in the comments, because obviously we've not seen the post-match reaction, we just put down if there was anything said about the fans in this game. But you can't blame the fans again for walking out of 4-0. I mean, Everton shouldn't be losing 4-0 regardless. Once that game goes to 2-0, there's no excuse for it to get any worse. If it gets to 4-0, I want Everton to score at least 1 or 2 goals. I want to see some positivity and some attacking play to result in us having conceded an extra 2 goals. There's just no excuse for it. Matt, would you do anything with the lineup? Would you change anything today or moving forward based on what you've seen?
I think purely you need to pick it based on form. I think Harrison and McNeil aren't performing, so I think it's Bournemouth next, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the cup game midweek. Yeah, I think midweek you'll probably see the changes that you'd expect to see. But I think come the Bournemouth game, that is the time Ndai, Lindstrom, maybe both of them, maybe just one of them. Doucouré, McNeil, Harrison, they don't create anything, and I'm not Calvert-Lewin's biggest fan. They don't create anything for them. What's he meant to do when they're pumping terrible long balls up to him that he tries to bring down? They're playing 5-yard passes, which look simple, to a channel, and they're playing them 3 yards to the right of him. He's never going to get to it. Do you know what I mean? It's a pain. I'll probably bring one of them in just to sort of bed it in, maybe put Ndai behind, because Doucouré is a passenger. I think for all McNeil and Harrison's faults, they do seem to try. Doucouré he's not a good footballer. He can't create anything. He can get on the ends of stuff, but if we're not creating anything, he doesn't really offer anything more. So for me, it'd be one of those two in the 10. I don't want to be a Michael Keane's biggest fan. I don't necessarily think he's done anything to warrant being dropped, but I don't think he's done anything to warrant staying in the side, if that makes total sense to you. I agree. We've spent the best part of 15, 16 million on a new centre-back, and they've not bedded him in yet. He will probably play on Tuesday. But I think I'd like to see him start as well. And again, the young lad at right back's got to stay in, hasn't he? That's the way I see it. He was the best player on the pitch today, which isn't necessarily a glowing accolade when you've just been smashed 4-0. But he didn't do himself any problems, did he? He played well.
No,
so
he didn't.
I think I'd like to see one of the two attacking players in, and then maybe one change at the back.
Yeah, I don't see any harm with keeping him in now. We don't exactly have any more right backs. He's going to have good confidence off the back of this game. I'd leave him in and see how he develops. We've even got, is it Harrison Armstrong looked okay for 5 minutes. He's been forced into playing some of these youngsters, but maybe that will pay off for him. We can't afford to buy any more players by the looks of it, so we're going to have to look through other means. And the transfer window is also up, I believe, in a week. That's next Saturday. Yeah, so we've only got a week to sign new players if we're going to do so. What do you think is the most pressing issue in this Everton side at the moment? Is it in the back line? Is it in the creative midfield, defensive midfield, or just toothless up front?
It's the spine, isn't it? I think it's a bit of a blend of everything. Pickford's made a mistake there, is what it is. I think that the Brighton game last week, he probably could have done better for their third, but that is me being really harsh. There's two centre-backs, look, not necessarily doing anything wrong, but again, not necessarily doing the right things. We conceded a goal last week where both of them are backing off. One of them probably should have engaged. Same things happened again today. They've both backed off. Their centre-backs ran all the way through the pitch. Both centre-backs have backed off. But then again, centre of the park, exactly the same thing that happened for Brighton's goal. Both Gay and Irabunum had a chance to foul the player coming forward. Just bring them down. Every team does it. Professional foul. If you take yellow, you take yellow. They didn't do it. So they've got a clean run at the centre-backs who are then dropping off, and all of a sudden there's a goal. But that's when it's the spine. The two centre-backs aren't really informed. The two centre-mids don't really seem to be clicking with each other just yet, but that's fine. They've played 3-4 games together, including the pre-season. They're not going to be, the best centre midfield pair in the world yet. Up front, they're not creating anything, but then when they do get up front, you've got a striker who doesn't really seem that interested in being here. Doesn't really do anything when he's got the ball. Maybe
we need the end of the window just so we can get some confirmation, if anything, on the team. just to know that Branthwaite's not gone and that Calvert-Lewin's either gone or stayed, but just some security over the team so we can move forward.
Yeah, definitely that. I did say something similar to someone earlier, and I said pretty much the same thing. Like, I think the reason he's playing Keane, and like this is just my opinion, I think the reason he's playing Keane is because he doesn't know where the Branthwaite's going to go, because he doesn't have any say over the transfers, really, does he? If good money comes in, he's going to go Branthwaite, and that's just the situation we're in. So he needs to keep Keane fresh. He knows O'Brien's fresh. He knows Keane's a little bit edgy. He's a confidence player, but unfortunately, he's put him into a game where we've shipped 7 goals in 2 games. So it's a hard one. You can't change your full 11 every week, and the players that we do have in reserve aren't good enough than the ones who were starting. So it's a really tough situation to be in. But he did make a comment about this players seem to build something and then have to be knocked down to then be able to rebuild it again. It's one of the comments Dave made earlier. So yeah, do we do that against Bournemouth? I don't see it. They're a really good team, Bournemouth, and they've lost arguably their best player, and we don't necessarily know how they're going to perform until tomorrow they play, don't they? But they've lost their best player. They've had to shuffle a few pieces of the jigsaw around, but squad depth wise, they ultimately look like they've got a better squad than Everton, which should never ever be the case for all due respect to them, for a club the size of Bournemouth. They should never look like they're in a better position than Everton, but we just need to get back to that. Like, I hate using the phrase now because it's so overdone. The dogs of war mentality now. We need to get back to that. But my biggest problem, and I said it again earlier, we tried this 4-4-1-1 last season, and it worked until it didn't. And when it didn't work, it was bad. And he went to a 4-3-3. And he's gone into the first 2 games of this season with pretty much the exact same team, bar 1 or 2 players. And he's gone back to the 4-4-1-1. It didn't work. He changed it to the 4-3-3 and it worked. So I don't know why he's then tried to transition back to what was faltering in the first place. And it's the same issues. There's no one covering in the midfield. If Garner or Irabunam lose the ball, they're running clean through on the defence. The fullbacks won't go too far forward, because if they do, like we saw Young doing last week, they're going to get countered immediately. And then up front, you've got one lone striker who's just trying to control balls that are being pinged to him, or flick them onto Doucouré, who's not really in the position to get to it. It's a really hard one. I think he needs to go back to what was winning them games at the back end of last season. That's what I think he needs to do.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm trying to think back to last season. I don't know whether that was just more desperation for having to win those games that got us over the line, rather than, I don't know if Dyche really has tactics anymore. It's like we just go out there and just go long. See if you win a flick on, try and win a corner, keep the game tight. If you concede more than 1 goal, you're not going to get anything from the game.
Yeah,
it seems to be the same old. I think we do need something fresh. I'm not sure if we need to change the manager at this point, but I don't know. We just need to try something fresh. We do need more signings. I don't know if there's any way we can structure some sort of payment for somebody, but I don't know. People are talking about Michael Keane. When was the last time we had a game where Michael Keane where we conceded less than 2 goals?
I don't think you can you? I'm not. I don't think he's done much wrong, but I'm not even going to try and answer that because I don't think there is one.
Michael Keane trivia. Probably the Spurs game when he scored that rocket. I think that was 1-1.
Oh yeah. Do
Didn't
you
he
know
make
what?
a
I think he's clocked it. I think it's that, isn't it?
He made a mistake at one end, and then he hasn't really played last season. The whole season, we managed to avoid it. I don't think we can sell Branthwaite regardless of what price comes in, because it would be kamikaze. I think we'd really put ourselves in the box seat for relegation if we didn't have him now in that centre of defence. As you said, the spine is so important. You think Tim Irabugam is I don't know if he's an Onana's level, but he looks like he can put in performances that can be similar. And Garner's obviously getting on, so I don't know whether there's much difference from last season. For me, it's more like a mentality, a confidence, a belief. I want the players to go out and thinking, yeah, this is Spurs. We know they're a good side. They can get around us. We've got to work damn hard today. We've got to put the miles in our legs. We've got to be clinical in front of a goal, and we've got to play on the counter. And I just don't know if they went there thinking that. I just think they went there thinking, well, we'll try and keep the score down. We've got a makeshift back line. When we get the ball, we'll just pass it around the back and then hoof it when we get put under pressure. I just don't see the belief. They don't have the belief, in my feeling. But I think that's when we see Lundstrom and Ndai, maybe they will offer the belief. Do you think they're the ones to turn it round for us?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't think Ndai is going to be when he's shoved out on the left, and that's not against him in the slightest. He struggles at Marseille last season playing on either wing. You know, he plays behind the striker. That's his position. Yeah. He plays behind the striker. He looked very good when he was on, but again, he's expecting Mykolenko to overlap. Plays a few balls down the line. Mykolenko's not quite up to it. Lindstrom, I don't know what it is with him. I watch a lot of Bundesliga football, and I've been over to. For those who don't know, I follow Red Bull Leipzig quite hard. I've followed them for a long while from an old Football Manager save I did years ago, and I've been over there, and I've been to games over there. And Lindstrom in the Bundesliga was just electric, mate. Like, he was next level. But that was him playing out on the right. Since then, he seems to be more of like a 10, but it doesn't seem to have worked out for him. So I think Dyche is trying to transition him back to playing out wide, but he doesn't seem to have the legs to get back as much as someone like Harrison would do. So it's that fine balance in it. It's are you going to sacrifice defensively to be a bit more offensive? But when you've got the young lad playing right back in Dixon, who's, defensively, I think he was fine today. From what I've seen of him in the under-23s, 21s, he's not the best defensively. So will he sacrifice that, having someone like Harrison who will track back to support him, to then let him get further forwards? Do you see what I mean? It's that fine balance. I think Ndai's probably the main one who's going to make the main difference, and then obviously Brantwig coming back is going to be massive. But the one thing is that we're 18 months into a Dyche tenure now, and it seems to be, if Brantwig doesn't play them on knackered, I think that's extremely worrying when he's what, 20, 21, 22? He's only a young lad, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's 21. Yeah, I don't know what the injury is or whatever it is, and Patterson as well. It's like all just one big mystery.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking, Ndai, I agree with you. I think he needs to be central. He looks like a shadow striker. He looks like he's trying to be a bit of a Danjuma, sort of sit behind the striker and centre forward role. And Lindstrom, he's a creator by the looks of it. He's got a little bit of pace, but also he doesn't look like he wants to be stuck out on the wing. I'm just thinking whether we could look at a formation that puts the two of them together and narrow. And I don't think that can work as in the way that Peter was saying with the 4-1-4-1, because I don't think Dyche will go that exposed in midfield, but possibly with a 5. But is that a risk if you play Mykolenko, Brantwig, Tarkowski, and Dixon and McNeil as like the wing backs? They will offer you a bit of pace at the wing back positions. McNeil's cross from deep on the left, and then you play those two inverted. That still allows you to play Gay and Garner, or Tim and Garner, and you've got the two in front of you. You can say let them go, let them play free. And then Beto or Calvert-Lewin making runs in behind, you thread the ball through, make space behind them for Ndai to run and dribble into, and Lindstrom to play those passes. I don't know if there's something in it, but I don't think we quite have the players to play it. But I just wonder with those two, Lindstrom and Ndai, how we can get the best out of them. They're not wingers. We're not going to play them both as centre forwards. So I just don't know whether we just brought them in because they were the players we could afford or get on loans, or just they were decent attacking players that we could get in with our financial restrictions.
Yeah, I personally think that they were never intending the pair of them to play together. I think it was always going to be one of them will replace Doucouré as the starter and the other one will be the one off the bench. It seems to be that way, that he's just throwing them in for the sake of it now. And we know what he's like, don't we? He's stubborn, isn't he? And it's very much like he feels like he's doing things to. Someone said he's calling out the fans before. He feels like he's doing things to sort of be to the fans like, well, I've tried it, didn't work. That's the impression you get off him. And then he ends up back to his old trusted, Keane comes back in, Harrison's back on the right, McNeil's on the left. There's just something missing, isn't there? There's just something missing. A change in formation's not necessarily a bad thing. We've gone to a 3 under him before and played very well. I've said for a long while I don't really think Michalenko's a fullback. I think he's a centre back who's not tall enough to be a centre half. Kind of like Lisandro Martinez is. I feel like he's got all the attributes to play centre half, but he's not tall enough, so he doesn't play there. And especially in a dice team, he's not going to play there. But in a 3, he absolutely could play there, and I think he's done it in the past for Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken. You don't need to be a 6'6" bruiser to play in a back 3. But then it goes back to, like you said, you then have to play McNeil out of position. We don't really have anyone who can play like as a wing back. I said it on the pre-match for the Brighton game the other week. I think left back and centre mid are the 2 positions we're absolutely crying out for because there's no outlet. Calvert-Lewin cannot hold the ball up for as much as he tries. He can't hold the ball up. He flicks it on well, but his hold-up play is it's not great. Beto looks like he should be able to hold the ball up, but seems to be more of the one who wants to run in behind, which you wouldn't think for, looking at him 6'3", 6'4". He's massive, but he looks like he wants to run in behind. We don't have an outlet anywhere in that team. So when we're under the cosh like we were against Spurs, they were trying to play quick balls into Calvert-Lewin, but it just wasn't working because he's not that outlet striker. You see it from him every now and again. We've seen it in the derby, didn't we? And he was gargantuan in that game.
He can do it. I just think, I don't know what it is, what the flicker switch for him, but we've seen him do it in the past. He was doing it when he was like 20 years old even. But he just when he's in the mood to do it. I think, again, these Spurs defenders, Romero and Van der Bern, they're really, really good defenders, I think. They're like super strong. They read the game really well. And Van der Bern, he's very quick. I think that was always going to be tough, whoever plays up against them, to win many of their balls. But the service, the ball's got to come into feet, or it's got to be tight to him. Very often they're chasing shadows and it runs through to the goalkeeper. And then your back's against the wall and you're trying to defend again. And you spent basically the whole game doing that. And that's tiring.
I think, sorry to interrupt, what I did notice, and I think Beto has always been one that if he plays more, you'll see more. Romero didn't like him one bit. He did not like him at all. He's very physical, but he's very much like Lukaku used to be. He's like, I'll pin your defender, I'll spin you, I'll get in behind. And he did do that a couple of times. There was one where he went one-on-one with Romero and he took it past him and then he messed his touch up afterwards. And it's like, well,
that's given as a foul, but it wasn't a foul.
Yeah.
I think that one. But there was another one down the line as well, which he had. I think if it had been Romero, he would have got past him. But yeah, I think he has different qualities to Calvert-Lewin. Obviously,
I think they're better suited, to be honest with you, Basil. I think they're better suited. We play a lot of channel balls, and Calvert-Lewin can't run them. He can, but it's that old square pegs round holes. He's a penalty box striker, isn't he, Calvert-Lewin? And that's what Ancelotti had him doing. He'd flick the ball onto one of the wingers, and he'd get back in the middle, and he'd score. He doesn't run the channels effectively. Ancelotti used to say to him, "You stay within those 2 posts," and he had his 2 best seasons doing that. Beto will run the channels, and we've seen him do it. Not often because he doesn't play all that often, but we've seen him do it. If that's the type of football you've got to play, then you've either got to play both of them, which he seems to have never seemed to have found a way of doing it, or he needs to find a way of saying, "Look, you're now my number 1 striker. Prove me right." And go with Beto, because if Calvert-Lewin's not signing that contract and he doesn't seem interested, does he? But at the same time, if that's not how I want to play football and that's how the manager's making us play, I'm not going to be very good, because it's not his game. Players play well in proper systems, and we've seen it all over the Premier League. Some play like Villa, for example. They signed Diaby for 30 million. Nobody in their right mind ever would have said that Bailey would have got in over Diaby last season, and Bailey suits the system that they play better. So Bailey, and obviously Bailey's now their number one winger, and Diaby's gone. And that's what it is. It's one of them. Like Calvert-Lewin is Everton's number 9, but that doesn't mean he should be Everton's number 1 striker, because he doesn't seem to suit what we're trying to do. And that goes with his goal return as well. I think we've got 7 goals last season. It's not great. I know we don't really create anything for him, but at the same time, he doesn't really facilitate that either. He doesn't seem to be the person who can move into those channels and hold it up and link up the play. You get it every now and again from him, but it's not like something he can consistently do. And when we're a team that consistently play the same way, you need someone who can go, right, that's what I'm going to do. Adebayo at Luton, exactly the same thing. They played one way, and when he was on the pitch, it worked. And they had that big spell where he was out and they didn't score a goal for weeks, did they? He comes back in, the nets against us straight away, because that's their system and it's suited to him. So I think that's what we need to do. He
can run in the channels. He's got a burst of pace about him, and he's strong. He can get in front. He's just always offside every single time when we do try that, and the rest of the time he's just too lazy to do it. I don't know whether there's an element that Beto comes on for 10 minutes, so he knows he can just run as much as he can and put himself into the ground, because he's not playing more than 10, 15 minutes. With Calvert-Lewin's pacing himself for the game. But they could play a bit less. They could even it out. One could play 30 minutes. One could play 50 or 60. I've been on for an hour and a half now, so I'm going to be wrapping up in a minute because I've got to get to the theatre. And so, have you got any sort of final thoughts on the game or Everton or moving ahead?
Yeah, I think it's very easy for me to sit here and say, let's be a bit more positive about it, but I think we do. It wasn't a great game. The last 2 games haven't been great, but that team is a lot better than they've shown, and we know they are. So yeah, you can get angry about it. You can, say your piece. Everyone's entitled to their opinion on it. We're a much better team than we've shown. We've had a lot of change. We've lost some players, key players in key positions at the start of the season. When everyone's back and fit and firing, maybe judge it then. Maybe see how they get on when everyone's back in the position they should be playing, and Coleman's back and Branthwaite's back, and they've sorted out this centre midfield position, because we've had to throw a 21-year-old kid in there who's only played like 10 minutes of Premier League football before. So yeah, let's see how it goes. They're better than they've shown, and we know they are. We've seen it.
Can only get better, you would imagine.
Yeah, only get better. There you go. That's what I want. I want better in there.
On that note, I'm going to thank everyone, the 450 people who are still watching. Thank you for sticking with us for an hour and a half after all that dross that we watched, an hour and a half of Everton play today. And obviously, we'll play again on Tuesday, so I think there will be preview and a reaction after that game. Thanks for joining. Thank you, Matt. And thanks, Peter. And see you next time.